Okay, class, before we attempt to do exercise 5-5, I want to work with you first on a couple of AutoCAD commands, actually 2 or 3, that I would like for you to be familiar with. So go ahead and open up AutoCAD. Okay, go ahead and select Start Drawing. Alright, so here are some things I want to show you before we start the problem. Let's create a rectangle. So click on Rectangle and click on the first point, and we're going to type in, I don't know, let's make it 6 maybe, and then Tab, and then 4. And then enter. So it's 6 units long by 4 units tall. Okay? I'm not even going to do this on, I'm not even going to make any layers right now. I'm just going to use the same layer.
You said 6
by 4. Actually any rectangle you want, it doesn't really matter. Alright, go to linear here, dimensioning, go to linear, and click on a couple of points and drag out your dimension. Okay? How many decimal places do we have here?
4.
Okay, let's say I only wanted 1 decimal place, right? If you go type in DDIM, some of y'all already know this, and I've talked about this, but I really want to make it official now. Okay, go into Modify, and then make sure where it says Primary Units, okay, go there, and let's change the precision. Let's make it 1 decimal place. Okay, and then say OK, and then select Set Current and close. What happened?
Change the decimals.
They changed the number of decimal places, right? And that's an important thing, because if you're going to design something that a machinist has to make, and you've got 3 decimal places versus 1 decimal place, it costs a whole lot more money to make something with 3 decimal places versus 1. The tolerances are much tighter. Okay, sometimes as much as plus or minus 1/1000th of an inch, whereas something that's 1 decimal place might be plus or minus 1/10th of an inch. So you see you have a lot of wiggle room there when you have less decimal places. All right, now I want you to notice something. We just changed the number of decimal places. Let's say you made a dimension right here and the number was really small, the text height, and you couldn't see the terminations at all. It was just so small you couldn't see it, right? Here's one way that you can change that. So I'm going to make another dimension right here. Actually, I can do a dimension over here. I'm going to dimension this again, okay? But before I do that, I would like for you to type in DIMTXT and enter. What does it say the default value is? 0.18, right? All right. Well, let's just play around with this a little bit. Let's make it 0.375, and then enter. All right. So let's go over here and dimension this side. Select linear. Click on this point. Click on this point, and drag out your dimension. Now, you may not want your dimension to be that big. I'm just showing you that you can change this. If it's really itty bitty and you can't see it, you can change it. Now let's say you wanted to increase the arrow size. Okay, so right now I think these arrows are fine. But let's say they weren't, and you wanted to change them, right? Type in DIMASZ. That's dimension arrow size. Enter. What does it say the default value is for that? 0.18, right? Well, let's just change that to 0.375 as well. And enter. Again, this might be too big. But the point is, I want you to compare. All right, let's do a horizontal dimension. Click on linear, click on this point, and click on this point, and bring down your dimension. Do you see a difference now in the arrow size? Okay, Mr. Morris can actually see this, right? Okay, now look at this, the distance between the object line and the extension line. You see this gap right here? See this gap? Sometimes that gap is so small that you can't tell where the object line ends and the extension line begins. You don't know. So is that the object line, or is that the extension line? I don't know. If you zoom way out, it looks like it's the same line, but it's not. Let's say you want to change that gap. So you type in DIMEXO. What does that mean? Dimension, extension, offset. I told y'all last first day of this class that Mr. Morris is a typer. I remembered all these commands since the 1990s. And like I was kidding with Cassandra earlier, I said, Mr. Morris can't remember what happened 15 seconds ago, but I can remember what happened in the 90s. Okay? So if you enter this, what is the default value here? 0.0625. So we're just kind of playing with it. Let's make it, make it 0.25 for right now. Enter. All right, let's put a dimension on here so I can show you the difference. Do you see the gap now? See the difference in the gaps? Okay. Now, let's say you wanted to change this length right here. Okay, Professor Cruz, you see that this arrow right here?
Right.
You see this extension line, this part of the extension line right here?
Yes, I did.
Let's say we want to make it longer. We wanted to make it bigger, right?
Extension line.
Yeah, right here. We wanted to make the distance from the arrow to this endpoint larger, a longer distance. All right, so we're going to type in DIMEXE, dimension, extension, extension. Enter. What's the default? 0.18. And let's just, again, I'm going to overdo this. I'm going to make it 0.375. Enter. All right, I'm going to erase, one of these dimensions here so I can place one here. So click on dimension, linear, click here, click here. All right, now look at the distance from the tip of this arrow to this endpoint and the distance from this arrow to this endpoint. I made it longer, correct? Okay. So those commands can be very useful to you. But you can also find them in that dialog box that we opened up earlier. But here's the thing. I don't do that. But I'll show you. If you type in DDIM, you might like doing this better. Go to Modify. And I have to hunt for these things every time I do it. But right here, if you look, extend beyond dimension lines. What does it say the value is right now? 3/8, because that's what I made it. You can change it right here. You can change the value right here. Okay? So this is the dimension, extension, extension. This is, I believe this is the offset. This is the gap here, 0.25. All right, so that's for, again, this gap and this extension. If you want to change the text height, you come over here to do it. Are y'all still with me? Well, I'm making a video, so if you're not, you can watch the video. So you can do them both ways. Some people like dialog boxes. Mr. Morris likes to move. I start typing, keep on going. I don't pull down all these dialog boxes necessarily every time. Was that helpful? Okay, because some of your dimensions are going to be itty bitty, especially with the metric ones. I don't know if you had any practice with that, but the dimensions, are in millimeters, but when you scale your dimensions, they're very small. So you may have to change those values. All right, so I said I was going to do another problem with you, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to erase this. I don't need any of this here. Okay, I don't know why I closed that out, but all right. So let's look at example 5-5 here just for a moment. I'm sorry I keep clearing my throat. I got all kind of allergies and upper respiratory things going on. What is the length of this block?
80.
It's 80, right? So our front view, we know it needs to be at least 80 units long. And the height of this is what? 40, right? So I introduced to you the other day the construction line technique. There's other ways of doing this. This is one way. You type in XL, enter, and just click on your screen anywhere. Okay, now when you start to move your mouse, it's like, well, how do I get this thing to line up perfectly vertical, right? I'm struggling here. I feel like I'm on a simulation ride here or something. But hit F8. If you hit F8, guess what? You move the cursor a little bit. You make the line either perfectly vertical or perfectly horizontal. Okay? I'm going to make it vertical, so I'm going to move my mouse upward like this and just click. Okay? And then enter. Does everybody have an infinite line? It goes on forever.
What's the X mean?
It means construction line. It's an abbreviation for construction line. All right, type in XL again. Enter. Click on the about right here. Click about right here. Again, we want the line to be horizontal, so you got to move your mouse so the line is perfectly horizontal. Click and enter. Now you just said that the length of this is 80. So what command am I going to use? You think? Offset, right? Offset, enter. I'm going to type in, now it says specify the offset distance. Look by your cursor. It's prompting you. Okay, so we're going to type in 80. Enter. Now it says select the object to offset. I want to select this object here. Now you have to indicate, what side of this line you want to offset. I'm going to indicate to the right, so that means to click. And then enter. So Mr. Morris, where is that line? I don't see it. Type in Z, which stands for zoom, enter, and type in ALL. Enter. didn't work, did it? Should have worked. But just use your scroll wheel, I guess, to zoom out. I don't know why that didn't work. I have to try that again later. It should have worked. All right, what's the height? It's 40, so we're going to offset this 40 units high. Click here, and then go above. Click, enter. I'm going to zoom out some. I'm going to zoom out and pan. This is where I'm going to put my front view. I need to leave a little bit of space in between the front view and the top view, and the front view and the right side. I can always adjust that later. Let's go ahead and make it like 50. Offset 50. 50. 50 here, and then come over here and offset this one, 50. Okay, looking down on this block, what is the depth of it? Can you tell what the depth is? Is that a missing dimension here? It's 40. I would take off points for that. If the way they dimension that, I would take points off of that, right? So it's 40. The depth is 40 also. So type in 40 offset. Excuse me. Type in offset, and then type in 40. Enter. Click on this line, and click on this line. Enter. By the way, Mr. Morris doesn't even use this technique to make drawings. So, and the depth is again on the right-hand side. If you were looking on the right-hand side of this, you would see that it's 40. So offset, enter, type in 40, enter, click here, click here. Now we should make a new layer here for our object lines, and red seems to work for us. So go up here to layer properties, and we're going to click on this first icon right here, the layer icon. Click on that, and it's asking us what do we want to name our layer. Well, hit the backspace key, and we're going to type in object lines. And enter. Also, if you move your mouse down where it says color, click on it. Right now, the default is white. Let's select red and select OK. Now, we are not current in that layer. If I go over here to draw a line, I'm still in the first layer, which is the default 0. That's the default layer, 0. To make this current, we have to what? Double click on it. Now we are current in that layer. This is going to come in handy for you later on, okay? Alright, so now I want to zoom in on my front view plane. I want to zoom in right here, folks. And I'm looking at this, and the first thing I'm going to do is, well, you can select line from the menu bar, or you can type in L. I'm going to type in L, enter, and move your mouse here. It should snap to that intersection. Click, come over here, click, come up here, click, and so on, all the way back to the beginning. Right click, enter. So that's red now, right? If I zoom out, that's going to be where my place. That's where I'm going to put my front view. Okay. Now, so the thickness of this block seems to be like 10 millimeters. Okay. So let's use our offset command right here. Go to offset and type in 10, enter, and click on this these lines actually. Enter. Now we need to trim this up a little bit. I'm so sorry that I have to keep clearing my voice. Apparently allergies is getting the best of me too here. Let's trim this up. I'll trim this up some. So select here, 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 and don't worry about down here yet. Enter. I'm going to select here, 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 here. I'm going to come down and work on this end now. And you can tell that there's a notch cut out from the side. And of course, yeah. So this line right here, I'm going to offset it 5 upward. Offset 5 because it says it's 15. From here on up is 15. Okay, enter. So I'm going to trim this up now. Trim. Take here, here, and then select this line, and this line, and get. That should have trimmed. Let me try that again. Okay. It looks like that. We got to do the same thing at the top here. Okay? So that's 5 units tall right here. This little block here. So it's 15 total. Okay, so we're going to offset 5 this way. And I'm going to have to offset this line again. It was 10, right? And I'm going to trim this up. Trim. Enter. Oops, I went the wrong way. Sorry, I trimmed the wrong one. All right. Now that notch does not go all the way through the entire block, does it? I mean, it doesn't look like this. I mean, I can trim this here. Actually, I need to select. Could that work? Okay. But that notch does not go all the way through. So you do see edge here and the edge here. So I'm going to put this line back. Actually, I'll just use the extend. And we need to put a line in here. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second until you catch up with me. That's no, we got the cutout in the top too. So how far from this corner right here is my cutout? From this corner here. It's 30, right? And it says 2 places. So what that means is going to be 30 from this edge and 30 from this edge. So let's do that. So I'm going to offset 30 from here and also from here. Enter. Now I got to trim this up, right? Trim. What do you think? We have the front view, right? Yes, sir.
On the bottom right corner of that, the distance between the wall and the sidewall is 15, not 10.
Yeah, from here to here is 15.
No,
It's 15 the other
from
way.
the other way, 15.
Maybe I'm not looking at it right.
Yeah. left side's 10, the right side's 15 gap on the right side.
This gap here,
No, the other way.
here.
No, you had it, yeah, go back to that. From all the way to the right to the inside, right there to there, that should be 15.
Oh, it is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
These small little decals. Small little details sometimes that we forget about. So I'm just trimming this up and I'm going to type in extend, click on this line, enter, and select this line and this line, enter.
Where is it now?
I just typed in EX, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you picked it up now.
So, does our front view look okay now?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for catching that. Sometimes it's not so easy to see when you're doing this, right? But when you have a chance to sit back there and look at your book. And I didn't practice this one either, so I'm doing this off on the fly here. All right, so the next thing I want you to do is project all the points of intersection up here. But before we do that, we're going to create the object lines, the overall outline of this block. So type in L, enter, and click here and go all the way around. Enter. Now, I'm going to start every place I see a point of intersection. I have one here, I have one here, here, and here. I'm going to project those points up. So type in line, click on this intersection right here, and go past the object line a little bit like this, enter. These are construction lines. And do that for all of these intersecting points. Let's see, catch up with me for a second. All right, so I'm going to quiz you here a little bit. I'm going to trim up my lines first before I do. Just trimming. Enter. Now, when I point to a line, tell me if that line, can you see that line if you were a bird flying over that block or looking down on that block? Tell me whether it's a hidden line or a solid line. I know this is a solid line here. What about this one? Hidden. So type in change, enter, select this line, and while we're at it, let's select this line too, because that's also hidden. Enter, type in P for property, and then come down with your mouse and select line type, and then type in hidden. Enter. Enter again. Now, it's very hard to see. You have to zoom in. That's mighty small. The line type scale is very small. So what we need to do is type in change. I could have done this all at one time, but with calculus, we're doing the hard way first. Type in change, select this line and this line, enter, type in P for property, come down here where it says line type scale. And right now it says it's 1, so it's like 1 millimeter. Maybe we should make this like 5. Let's see what 5 does. And then enter twice. That's pretty good. You can tell that's a hidden line. Okay? You want me to do it again? I can do it. Just tell me if you want me to do it again, I can do it. Don't be bashful. Alright, so again we need to change the line type scale here. Very small. So type in change, enter, select this line, enter, type in P for property, enter, move your mouse down to where it says line type scale, click on that, and see what right now it says it's 1. Well, that was pretty small. So I'm going to try 5 and see what that looks like. Type in 5, and then enter again. Was that helpful?
I'm following behind you.
I'm going to do it again. Do you have the hidden lines initially?
No, they're not dashed. That's part of my problem.
Oh, okay. Then I need to hit the undo one more time. So type in change, enter. This line, enter. P for property. Come down to line type scale, type in 5, enter again. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Y'all let me get away with that. Change. Here, I got to make them hidden lines first. P for property, line type, hidden. Enter again. All right. How about these 2 lines right here? They should stay as a solid line, right? But we have this notch cut out here. Does that notch go all the way through? It doesn't go all the way through, does it? How far does that notch on the right side go into the block? 20, right? You all see that notch? It goes in 20 from the corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset 20. So where do I trim this line to? Because I know this notch doesn't go all the way across. So I have to trim it here. And I'm going to change this, right? Change, enter, select this line, enter, P, line type, hidden, enter again. Now, here's another neat trick. See, again, that's kind of small. If you type in this command, match properties, or match prop, matchprop, and enter, I can select this hidden line, and you see it turns into like a paintbrush. Come down and select this one, and enter. Now the properties match, both color and the line type. Yeah, I can, yeah. So I want this line to kind of match this one. So you type in matchprop, enter, select this line, and then enter. Did you get it? I need to get me some of those Luden cough drops. I think this thing will help. So let me ask you a question. Does it look like I'm done with the top view? Is that a yes? I think we're done with the top view. I think. Where's this hidden line here come from? That's the depth of the notch, right? That's how deep it goes into it. Okay, let's look at the right side here. Remember, we're going to project the points of intersection. So you type in L, enter, and I'm going to, obviously that's one of the points, right? I tell you what, undo that. Let's go ahead and make our border all the way around first. So, sorry about that. Okay. So, we're going to project all of our points of intersection over here. So this one we don't have to do. That's the top line. But this one we have to do. Line, enter, click here, and project all the way over. Click, enter. Then we have this notch that you can see. All right, so line, click here. I think that's all the lines that we can project. No, there's one more. So this line right here. Tell me, what type of line should this be here? What type of line should that be? A continuous line or a hidden line? Hidden. So we're going to first trim it up. In fact, we can go ahead and trim all this. I hope this is helping you. Now watch what I'm going to do. Remember that nice command, match properties? I can use that again. Match, P-R-O-P, enter. Select this line here. And select this line. And while we're at it, we can select this line. Okay? All right. Enter. Now, this little notch that we've cut out here, we've got to... it doesn't go all the way through the block, right? It goes 20 units from this edge here. So I'm going to offset that line 20, select this line, and come in this way, enter, and I'm going to trim this up. Did we get it, Cassandra? What do you think? Have we missed anything? If you're looking from the right side, we can't see that corner right there, so that's hidden. But we can see this notch, right? We do see this notch, and we see the other side of the other wall here, so that's what this line is here. We can't trim that because you do see that other edge. And then I think that's it. As far as the geometry goes. Am I missing anything? You know, Mr. Morris is not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. So, but I'm looking at this and I think that is it. Now with Inventor, I would have been done 20 minutes ago. Because Inventor creates all these, you just model the solid. And Brian has me for Inventor, and so does Elizabeth, and so does Jonathan. Anyone else have me for inventor? Mr. Freeman, right? Did I get it right? Inventor is pretty powerful, isn't it? Are you in my inventor class? Okay, sorry. Brendan, right? Okay. Yeah, so Brian said we'd already been done. We'd be on our way home with all these problems, right?
Today I drew the ISO and all the orthos work. So it goes both.
Yes. All right, so now we need to erase our construction lines, okay? So you can type in E, enter, and I showed you something else last class. If you type in C, enter, click, and just drag your mouse, click, enter, it crossed over. The C means cross. I crossed over all those lines with a rectangle. Okay. We'll do it again here. Type in E, enter. Type in C for cross. Click, click, enter. That's part of the axis right there. All right, now we need to dimension this, okay? Okay, we need to make a dimension layer. So come up here to layer properties, and we're going to select new layer, and we're going to type in dimensions here. Enter, please. Let's just continue what we made it green, I think, right? So click on the color here, and let's make it green, Jonathan. Okay? Select OK. And then exit out of this dialog. Oh, what else do we have to do? Make it current, right? Yeah. So you have to double click on this to make it our current layer. Okay, so one of the ways that I like to do this, I always start with my front view. That's the view I start with. And when I dimension this, I want to make sure I got all these dimensions somewhere. All the dimensions that are shown in my isometric should end up being on this orthographic drawing somewhere. So watch what happens here, though. I'm going to go up here and pick linear, and I'm going to dimension. Guess what? We need a magnifying glass. This is what I was telling you about earlier. Look how, my goodness, look how small that is.
I don't know what the offset between the projection for the front and right side is.
Let's see. Okay, hold on, I'll tell you. I was going to, sometimes I get my tools mixed up from Inventor and AutoCAD. Oh, here's the measure. Here's the ruler. So I'm going to measure a distance from here to here. 50. We made it 50, Jonathan. Both sides.
I don't have the horizontal, the vertical one for front and right side.
Oh, that is, well, it's going to be the same length as the block. It's 80.
From front, the bottom left one to the right side.
From here to
The
here.
offset.
From here to here?
The offset.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm giving you the gap. This
From
is
front to
Oh, here. It's the same. It's, whatever it is here, it's always going to be the same. Remember that. Whatever the distance is from here to here, that's a good question, Jonathan. I didn't understand what you were saying. You should also be the same distance from here to here. I don't know if I did. I thought I did, but it doesn't look like it on the screen. Let me see. Yeah, it's 50. Y'all see that nice tool there? You don't. It's not going to put a dimension. It just measures. Right? Just gives you a measurement.
And then it's 50 again?
Yeah, it's 50 this way and 50. Yeah, well, it's going to be the depth of the part. The depth of the part's not 50, it's 40. So we offset 40 this way and 40 this way. Okay, now.
Sorry to interrupt you,
No, you're fine. You did great.
because it might have messed up
Okay, so we need to change some things here about our. So I'm looking at the scale. You know, so Mr. Morris is figuring, what size do I use here? Well, you have to look at this and think, well, this is 10. Isn't this 10 here? Or 15? It's 10, right? This distance from here to here is 10. And here I'm asking you, and all I have to do is what? Go here and measure, right? It's 10. Well, if that's 10, maybe I should make my dim text, arrow size, offset, and extensions all make them the same. That's what I told you to do last night, or the night before. So I'm going to type in dim text. I'm going to try this. Type in dim text, enter, and type in, I'm going to try 2, enter. Then type in dim ASZ, enter, and we're going to type in 2, enter. DIMEXE, enter, type in 2, enter. DIMEXO, enter, type in 2, enter. Now let's see how this looks. Click here, click here. Now, what do I have to do now? Still got to do one of the, that looks pretty bad, right?
You got to change the decimals.
Right, so how do I do that?
You need to go to DDM.
Okay, DDM. All right, now what?
Now you want to go to modify.
Okay,
And then you want to go to, I can't read,
primary units.
Yep.
And change the precision, right?
Yep.
And we don't have any decimal places with this one, do we? So we'll click on this one. And select OK. And set current. Close. So I'm going to erase this one. It should have updated, but what do you think? That looks pretty good, right? Doesn't that look pretty good? Gotta make y'all happy now. All right, I'm going to dimension from this. Dimension's kind of fun. It's not that bad, right? And the way I'm dimensioning this right now is because, you know, I'm not a machinist, but I've worked with machines in the past in my life, and they like for you to pick one datum point and reference all your dimensions from that one datum point. Okay, so you just keep clicking here. This is the next intersection, right? And we put this down here. And I'm just repeating this, right? Enter. Enter again. Enter 3 times to get out of the... All right, so I like that. So now I'm going to put some vertical dimensions in here. So go here to linear, click here on this one, look, and drag it out. That looks good, right, Cassandra? Is it Cassandra or Cassandra? I'm sorry. Cassandra. I'll probably be calling you Cassandra again next class. So. See, I picked this now as my datum point, and I'm working my way up. So hit the escape button a couple times. Now, there's nothing saying that you can't move this view over. You can move this view over if you need to. Okay? And so I'm going to. I'm going to type in M for move. And I'm just going to move it over just a little bit to show you that I can do it. And I'm not going to get in trouble for it. There you go.
You don't need to offset your top view. Good? Okay.
Nope. Now, the only dimensions we don't have here really is the overall depth and the depth of this. We're going to check them off in a minute. We're going to look at our isometric in the book and see if we have all of them. So I'm going to click from here. You put the smallest dimensions first. Now, watch. Remember, there's a way to line these up. You don't want to put your first dimension way down here. That doesn't look good. You want your first dimension to be in line with this one. And then, from here to here, again, we're going to now touch the second dimension here. You'll see this line come, inferred line. But if you breathe too hard, it'll move. Okay. Now, we don't have any dimensions up here. Do we need to put any dimensions up here? Do we have them all accounted for? Which one? You mean from here to here and from here to here?
Yeah.
Well, actually, we have it here, right? Brian, do you see anything we're missing? I think we have them all. So we have the overall length, we have the overall height, and we have the overall width or depth. And then I've got this. I think we have them. Now, if you wanted to, you can always put a reference dimension up here. A reference dimension has parentheses around it, and it's mainly so the machinist can quickly pick the material out of the stock. He doesn't have to go and calculate. He or she doesn't have to go calculate all these dimensions. He can just go and say, well, that's got the parentheses around it, so. I mean, I've got them here, here, and here, and here. But if I use another dimension I've already used once, you have to make it a reference dimension. And I'm not going to focus on that. Well, let me just do one. I'll show you. If you ever see something that looks like this, say, Mr. Morris, we already have that dimension. I know. Now, if I want to make this a reference dimension, you have to double click on it, put a parenthesis there. It's not letting me do it.
Or pressing the white arrow
Oh, there's an arrow there.
on your keyboard.
Oh, okay. I've never noticed that before. Let's see. I learn something new from my students every
Yes,
day.
it's like on Adventure. You have the dimensions,
Uh-huh.
the enclose the arrows inside it, and then you can really put around it.
Yeah, I know.
Basically,
Yeah, in Inventor, I can just go select reference dimension, and it automatically does it. There's a place to select. But sometimes I get the two programs kind of mixed up. Wait till we start teaching Fusion and Siemens NX and Revit. That's my hope anyway. So what do we do now? Bring our border in, right? So I was talking to Cassandra, right? I got it right that time, right? Earlier, and I said, Cassandra, what if, let me zoom out, what if this was your border, you brought it in, and your border looked like this? And you wanted to scale down the border without necessarily scaling that. You don't want, if you scale this, if you scale the geometry, your dimensions are going to change unless you explode them. If you explode your dimensions and then you scale your part, it's not going to change the dimensions. But if you try to scale it now, it's going to make your dimensions bigger. So here's how to do it. So type in scale, enter, window around this, all of it, enter, type in R for remove, enter, and then I'm going to window around this geometry, enter, it removes it from my scale command. Enter, I'm going to click like in the middle of my geometry, enter, and I'm going to give it, see it's itty bitty now, right? I'm going to make it like 0.5 what it was before. Way too small, right? So maybe 0.75 would have been better. So watch one more time. I did that intentionally. Scale, enter, window around all of it. Oh, I meant to type in R, sorry. Scale, window, remove, which is R, enter, window around this. We don't want that part of the scale. Enter. Click here, somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to type in 0.75 this time. Okay. So you have to work with the scale. So now that's one of your homework problems done. You just got to clean it up, put your border on there. Did you find this to be helpful? I hope so. So this concludes the lecture part for the night. I really wasn't going to take this long, but I think it might, again, we did one of your problems. So you got that done, right?